So a couple days ago, I think we got our first real taste of what the Sunset meta might look like, and it's this. It's from Edward Gaming, and they are playing Raze, Fade, Omen, Chamber, and Viper. And I think that this comp, or something that looks, fairly similar to it, will end up being the meta on this map. And so let's start with the very first round, the pistol round, to take a look at some of the things that they were doing, and they were doing some of these pretty consistently. So first one is the Viper setup they're doing, right? So they've got this Viper wall going across A just here like so, and their Viper is going to come and throw a Viper orb down in here on the other side of A as well. Why is this a good setup? Well, it allows you to completely defeat this horrific crossfire that you can get on A from the defenders, right? Putting up both sides and threaten to really get up in here, right? And take this control, right? So I kind of like it. I would say, and again, I would have to ask EDG exactly the specifics of this. This wall that they did, I am wondering if it's maybe not quite as good as a wall that goes, something like this, right? Just because this wall here, right, just gives you a bit more space in the post plant. You could potentially defend, this little crack here for any post plant that you get, and we'll get into that when we get into the post plant of this round. And also, there's little gaps in their wall as well that, maybe their opponent could exploit them playing in here or something like that. Don't know. Maybe they've got plans for that, right? I don't know. We're not in their comms, so who knows? But yeah, that's the wall that they're doing, and I think it's a pretty good vibe setup. The reason I really like Chamber on this map, I think there's a lot of good Chamber setups you can do, and here is just one of them, right? Where a simple Chamber TP out here towards B main, this Chamber, and you're going to see Kang do it in just a second, can come and threaten and take this control, somewhat safely, obviously, with the TP, all by himself, right? And just get up into this kind of first part of B just here and take any fight of any defender that wants to be here aggressive in towards B main. So I like this Chamber setup as well early on, and you'll see Kang do exactly that and try and take some of that B main control.
情况下，其实 T1 的 A 点压力很大，直接派了3个人在守。
前点位单向烟一落，这一分是有把刚刚放在 B 区做单挂的，因为之前 T1 在这张地图防守方会打得非常的主动。
但是 T1 这边防守 B 点是让Flexing 一个人出去看信息，这个位置是比较危险的。
而且你要注意到，现在中路是放了一个 Smokey 在红砖。
So whilst Kang was doing that and he TPs away and gets to safety, obviously they'd lost control over here towards A, but now they're going to come back. And this is where I think that the fade, and we saw this multiple times in this game as well, is going to come in. Now this one's the pistol round, so they don't have the full fade utility, but the 2 prowlers I think is really good over here towards A, right? Where you can send one in towards kind of the first part and clear either side of it, and then you have a second one to either clear the other side if you want to, or to clear deeper as well, something like this or something like this, just clear a bit deeper as well. And I think having the 2 fade prowlers versus a drone or a dog that might get destroyed here and not get too much information, having those 2 prowlers I think is actually quite important. The C's also I think is pretty good for some of these tighter areas in here. This time what they're going to do is they're going to clear it with an Omen flash in here as well. You can see Howdong setting up for that, and so they will manage to push these players back from this A site here with the the Viper setup goes up. You see the Omen flash there, really nice. And now they're going to come in towards this A site. There's a Prowler going in as well. And now what's going to happen is they will manage to find some of these kills and get the spike down here on A. But then let's talk about this post plant as well, because I think that this A post plant is still very much something that needs to be figured out.
点内是一波3架的重防，技能交互之后得看一下近点的换人。
两边左右2条道路的人已经到了，我又被抽了一枪身体。
金牌猎头还剩2发，但正面的队友在 A 小，感觉有机会能够撕开一道破口。浩东和康康各接一人，现在点内只剩下最后的 YOU。
在2路包夹的情况下，你能看到 T1 防守2路各占1个人，但对方都是一个2-3的分彩。
Okay, so we've got the spike down here for EDG now, but you'll see some of the things that I'm talking about with this Viper setup, where I'm pretty sure this is their own Viper orb here that they've picked up from back here and put down again here, and you see like just how cramped everyone is for EDG, right? Like look at how close they are all together. Now this is a 5v3 in a pistol round, so it's not going to matter that much for this round, but when we start thinking about later on in the rounds, full gun rounds with full utility, being this close together, right, where you're all cramped together, you imagine like for instance, a breach or a harbor ult, right? It's just smacking EDG and really catching a lot of them out there, right? For later rounds. And this is a problem with this A post plant, right? It's where do you plant and how do you play it, because it is very tricky. Now where they planted I think is pretty interesting, right? Because it's behind this box, but it's not up against the box. And I think this is a tip that you can use definitely for your ranked games as well, where this little box here that's just by this Viper wall is spammable, right? So instead of planting by kind of up into this box here, which would force this player to run around and actually see what's going on, you plant behind and you face the wall instead, and you plant back here, and that means that this guy can just spam through this box, or, you know, just tuck up a bit there, and he can see who's defusing the spike or not, right? Just making that a much easier scenario for anyone playing it here. Obviously, you do need someone to, you know, be watching this kind of space so that you don't get killed whilst planting the spike, but as long as you do, and you probably will in a lot of these rounds, having, you know, the spike planted up against the wall rather than up against the box, definitely a little pro tip for you right there.
3的分彩，人数劣势导致这两个人完全没有办法在首相局扛住，
而且血量也比较差，这方回防的反击技能是不多的。峰峰摘头收掉了康康，但是面对2打4的残局，感觉操作空间还是比较有限。看下一发山崩地线怎么交了。
那这个首相局的回防还要做一些尝试。 随着这个赵云的燃料下降，给了一个狂潮，想要先清部署去点内的人。
山崩地线给的还不错，但现在队友的协同毕竟没信息，穿越独木掉30滴血，球球直接收获一波双杀，那只剩下最后藏在烟里的福乐星也是被浩东收掉。上半场的。
Okay, next round, round number 3, and this one we got a bit of a different vibe setup. So this is the bonus round for EDG, and they're going to do this Viper wall instead. And if I'm being honest here with EDG, I think this is a little obvious, and I think that their opponents, Trace, think it's a little obvious as well. Because this Viper wall to me says one thing. It says we're going to push this, right? We're going to push deep through mid. And that's exactly what they do. And obviously you could use this and then not do that, right? And potentially, you know, double bluff your opponent. But you'll see here that the reaction, like, Trace are going to throw some, you know, utility out here, like, just early on. And then they're going to, you know, very quickly rotate. You'll see straight away. So pretty much, as soon as this Cypher sees that wall, like, you know, we throw some utility here, we throw a stun, nade, whatever. And look at this raise and this breach, right? Was instantly, like, here. Like, because, you know, this Viper wall here is, like, telling us, like, yeah, they're going to do that. And look, EDG, guess what they're doing? They're doing that, right? So I would say that this is a little obvious. I think there's better ways you can do it. I also think that this might be a reason for playing Harbor over Omen on this map, is that maybe Harbor can you know, do some of these ideas. You can keep the same Viper setup if you want over towards A, but Harbor can kind of do this completely on their own. And maybe you could argue Omen could do this on their own as well, but maybe I think Harbor would be a little better for it, where, you know, we cascade up here towards mid, and then we can, you know, throw all sorts of walls out, really. You know, it could be something like that from a Harbor or whatever, right? And threaten this A split with the Viper setup here as well. I think Harbor gives you more flexibility with these ideas, but, you know, that's just one advantage, I think, of playing Harbor. But what you'll see right now is EDG are going to go for this idea. You can see that the Raze and the Breach are already coming here. We're going to see some really nice Fade utility come in from nobody here. He's going to send a Prowler to destroy this trip to make it look like they're coming kind of for a B split here. But then the Fade Horn is really, really nice. EDG do manage to kind of get out of this, you know, on top here because they're EDG. But you see, it's not like perfectly done, and as you can see by what Trace have done here, perhaps it was a little readable.
习惯的知道林在 B 区想找弱侧，但是中路站下来之后想要去夹击，这一分过烟可能不是一个明智之举啊。
暗兽把半线给撞掉了，是个好消息。
换了一个人有生力枪械的机会，但是现在守方的站位被拉扯得很开。那浩东在接掉小开之后，这一路这2把枪械可能对于守方来说压力非常的大。
在这儿。 已经摸透了峰峰的2根。
So we get into this 4v3, but you can see again what I was talking about with this Viper wall. You know, maybe just a bit ambitious here with this part of it, because again, this Cypher very quickly has come through and cleared most of this, right? There is always going to be question marks here, but EDG, they are just going to come back and retreat over towards this A site. And again, it's going to be nice from EDG. Obviously, I mean, they are better than their opponents. We'll see that multiple times during this game. But they come back over towards A, and this Brim eventually will see them. You see the Cypher starts clearing out some of these angles and starts clearing out that no one has actually gone there. And back come EDG towards this A site. Now, their timing here is going to be really good again. They've managed to push this Brim back, and then we're going to end up in where 3 players come down towards kind of the elbow side. Kankang's going to come this side. And the timing from Kankang is really good, just waiting for his teammates, sitting in the smoke, finds this kill, and then they will be able to convert the round.
也还没有压到那么深。
对，这就是黑贝刚刚没有前顶的最主要的原因嘛。但现在听到大脚步之后，空投烟幕先交，再交燃烧榴弹，那看 A 小的这波近点能换几个了。
两边又是要同时到，刚刚是单走的，要等队友先动。
27秒钟，近点搜点的次序很重要。过点，这么平常没有拼过，球球一发同命之后摘掉了峰峰。黑贝藏在点里，他是一个究极暗面，补了一个，但刚刚的燃烧率非常的高，再闪转自如贴到后点，由 Nobody 的鬼魅完成收头，3比0的开局。
Now let's come to round number 7, which is just a mess all around from both sides, right? So let's first start off with Trace and what they're trying to do. So they're 6-0 down. They got a Brimble, they got a Razor, right? And they want to run a kind of trap play setup. I'll show you what the trap setup is. They're trying to get this camera looking across here in towards mid, and then off the camera's contact, they're going to stun. You see our Breach is kind of in position to do that. And then they're going to use their Brim ult off the stun and hopefully, you know, get some kills in here. Really nice, right? Really nice little idea. The problem is, well, there's a couple problems. First one is the EDG, instead of going for the A wall, which they had most rounds, had gone for this wall again instead, right? Which blocks off this camera's contact, so they don't actually know that people aren't, you know, kind of already deeper into mid than, you know, the camera has seen, right? So this should straight away be kind of abort the mission. If I'm Trace here, I'm saying that we should just abort the trap plan. That Viper wall has just kind of ruined our plan. Unlucky, you know, they went for the other Viper wall. What can you do, right? And you just abort, because you'll see in just a second. I mean, look at how deep Haodong is already, right? He's past where the trap is meant to be, right? They're going to send a Prowler in here. They're going to send a Boombot in towards B-Link. Like, there's pressure on the 2 players who are meant to run this trap, right? Like, the Cypher and the Breach, who you need to run this trap, are, you know, potentially under threat here, that they could be getting pushed. Right, so I would already be saying abort the plan, but you're going to see they will go for it anyway. In just a second, the camera contact will come in. You'll see Haodong just there on the camera, and now we're ready to stun and go for the ult just there. Now, the second problem with this plan is that there are much better ways, in my opinion, of running this kind of trap play, right? Because, well, neither of these players are going to die here. You might think, like, okay, Haodong's going to TP out his Omen, fair enough, but you should think that, oh, nobody's surely dead here with the stun. He actually doesn't die from it, right? So how can we run this trap play better? Well, if I was Trace here and we're doing this trap, I think the Harbor should probably be over towards A, and we're probably playing retake B here with the Cypher trips down here on B, with the camera, and our Harbor is towards A, because really what's happened over towards A is our Brim and Raze have just been cowering in fear here all the way back on A, for the whole round, right? They started the round here and they've just been cowering here, holding hands, you know, not getting any map control, and just, you know, I mean, someone could have come down here the whole time and they wouldn't even know, right? Which is obviously a massive problem. So I would definitely be trying, you know, not having that happen and bring the Harbor over towards A. And I think we've got to get more aggressive here with this, right? Where I would be having our Raze in here, maybe bank a nade off this, right? We can do the Brim ult deeper as well, right? The Brim ult can come this way, just making it harder again for people to escape out there. I would have a nade coming bank off that wall just there, and you can also breach aftershock here. And the breach aftershock has got better at this now, right? Where it's only 2 charges, but both do 80 damage. Like, you're making them run into an absolute buzzsaw. It's going to be harder for them to get out here, and you're more guaranteed to get a kill. And then even with that, I would say we need to then probably be swinging off this as well, right? Like, you know, and actually going for this full-fledged, like, let's win the round right now if we're doing this trap play setup, right? We'd have our Harbor over towards A. Everyone else, I would say, maybe be swinging in towards mid, and then, you know, have our B setup just be a retake. You know, if they go B, we've still got our ult, we can use that, right? And our Raze has ult as well, don't forget. So if you really wanted to, you could pop Raze ult in here as well. You know, you're 6-0 down, win a round, right? Because this isn't going to work, and it doesn't work. And they managed to just escape here, you know, they TP out, and no one dies. And we've used camera, stun, ult, and we did a little bit of damage to their Fade, right? Like, that's not good enough. And I think, again, there are better ways of running that kind of thing, multiple better ways, really. But now let's watch the second bad part of this round. Honestly, I kind of just want to let this play out in a way. Like, they come and Fade Prowler here in B main. They take some B main control. They then lose this fight in mid here. Yu dies to the Cypher just there. We end up in a 4v5. And now EDG, I'm just going to let this play out. They just don't know what to do, right? They start to come back towards A. They decide, wait a minute, we don't know what's going on towards A, and we don't have any good way of dealing with it because we used a Fade Prowler, our Viper setup isn't there, our Viper is dead. Like, we don't have any way of beating this crossfire. Panic, and now let's go back to B, and there's just no time.
再走红砖路，时间只剩20秒钟了。带着爆能器的 Nobody 是往 B 区在走，
是3次转移啊！但是 A 区的刚刚好像想做英雄，
这2根半线能拖一段时间。
单方向进点，左边有人，浩东、死玫瑰各自收头，但是
7秒，
时间好像来不及，
来不及了！
哇，躲就行了。
小开只要不死，这1分就拿到了。
哇， 那这对于 EDG 来说，
Okay, round number 11, and we're going to see almost an exact repeat of what we just saw with a trap play again with this Brimble from Trace Esports. So they love these traps with the Brimble. This time it's over towards A, where we've got the camera looking down here, and we're going to get our breach stun again in there, and then, you guessed it, Brimble in behind it, right? But this one is better, and it works better for a couple reasons, right? First one is the camera placement versus this Viper wall, right? Because again, the Viper wall is here on A, unlucky, I guess, but the camera is up on this roof, and I'm pretty sure it would see over any kind of Viper wall here, especially people kind of towards the back of the wall, you know, just seeing at least something of them so that you know that they are there. So that's like one reason it's better. Second reason it's better is, well, it's going to get a kill, but our raise here is going to actually swing with it as well, right? So you'll see that sees them, off goes the trap, right? Kang is going to die here, you know, to the Brimble just there, and our raise is actually ready to swing. Now, there are still things that I think they can definitely improve, you know, with this kind of setup and what they're doing, right? The first one is our raise here, again, I think raise nade through the window, right? Bounce off the window just there, land in here, stop people getting out this way, right? If there was someone deeper back here, you know, they aren't getting out. And, you know, again, if you're especially on an eco, right, this is your round, right? The round is here. The round is going to be one right here, so don't think about saving that raise nade. If you can't get a kill from a breached on Cypher camera and Brimult, you know, it doesn't matter, right? You've used too much utility and you're on a save, you might as well commit the nade as well and just, you know, get it up in there and, you know, throw it in here or in here, right? Either side of the Brimble, don't have a problem, just throw it, right? Just throw it. Second thing is as well, I think this Brim can be further up, right? I don't know why this Brim has to be all the way back here. You've got the Cypher camera taking contact for you anyway, right? Again, we can be closer to swing if we want to. And you'll see that what happens is this raise is going to swing just here. It's actually going to die, right? And again, if your Brim was like moving up, you know, you can have that iPad out and move. You know, it's not rocket science, right? You could actually get up, potentially even into the smoke, and you would have a free kill here where Howdong TPs into the smoke, and you would just have a free kill and a free gun. You'll see the way that it plays out kind of a bit weirdly. They do manage to kind of get away with it, but our raise dies here with, you know, kind of no support. And again, if our Brim was just a bit higher up, maybe that's, you know, just helping out that raise, potentially even finds 2 free kills if things go perfectly.
这份直接来，天际光束一烫过烟抓人，天光是烫掉一个，但 smoke 接掉小开之后，啊，蹦蹦跳跳，黑贝和 YU 各自收头，好像有悬念。
这一回合能舍得交出天际光束，这是 EDG 想。
So we end in a 2v1 here, and you see it got a bit messy there. It got a bit kind of like kind of crazy and random in there a bit, where I think we found a random kill here with the breach just shooting through that Viper wall. But we end up in a 2v1. This is gonna continue to be messy from this position, but Trace will manage to win the round. Just
到的，因为他们有枪械上的优势，所以选择抱团，不想让单摸枪械掉给你升级。
但现在 Nobody 的1v2残局，对方是有机会抛一个神奇取息的，而且他现在没有站位信息，
他身上有爆能器，而且手里有暗兽，他有发现敌人的机会。
人在哪儿？后点位、左侧都有人，但他现在还是有点踌躇不决。
看到一个打残了。
只要福乐星没有漏过，他就需要时刻小心。这一发头，福乐星倒地之后，峰峰的血量是非常的低的
，40滴血对5滴血，两个人都是一枪。
正义一发，身体命中是50左右。
去发现他的位置，他只能反绕。到了拐角，
关键的投命中一发晃身枪。
Okay, and finally to finish here, round number 17, EDG now on the defense, and they got a really nice little setup here. They got what I'll call a double bait setup. Interesting Viper wall they were doing across kind of the top of mid and towards B main. Don't know if that's the best Viper wall to do, but whatever. They're doing the one way here in towards A main, and what you're going to see is, yeah, you're going to get this little double bait where, you know, the Viper starts swinging there, you know, jump peek, la 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 la, right, where Kang has this little op in here, his little chamber ult, and you're going to have this little bait setup here that will come to fruition later on in the round, where you've just got Smoggy here, just, you know, just jiggle peeking here on the angle, but actually Howdong is, you know, pushed up all the way in there. The read here from EDG is pretty good as well. You're going to see we got some mid pressure here from Trace, and, you know, Prowler comes out and, Nobody's a little curious as to what's really going on there, so goes for the Fatal. Actually only sees the Cypher, but he's going to send out the second Fade Prowler on this Cypher and sees that the Cypher's gone all the way back. Trust that, okay, Kang's got B main. If they come towards this, they're in trouble. So instantly starts rotating towards A. That actually will come in pretty big because he manages to get here just in time as Trace are coming up towards A, and now you'll just see the nice little bait setup to end it. And EDG playing a comp that I think is very good on this map, and also playing, you know, some nice rounds on this map like this one.
也不算很冤吧。
但这样的话，他的位置也可以更自由一些。
但是 B 通前点位的康康，他不造击杀应该是不会往后退的。
所以大部队可以重防 A 区。
来了，山姆的一线抓人，左右都有人，一勾一打，浩德和 Nobody 左右解围，哇，一波瞬间的刷屏，指向最后的峰峰，也是由球球完成了最后的时候的13比4。